I think Georgia fans are going to love what Mike Bobo told reporters earlier this week. That's what we're going to talk about in today's video because it seems like Mike Bobo basically put it all on himself, at least some of Georgia's issues on offense last season. He took full accountability, and I think Georgia fans are going to love what he had to say about all that and how they are going to improve on offense. Mainly talking about the slow starts that they had basically all year long, the inability to consistently run the football. He spoke about all of that. You can read all of that over on Dog Post, but we have to talk about it. And I want to start with the slow starts. That is definitely something that Georgia has to be better at next season. They could not really move the football, especially on the road. They had a hard time running the football at Kentucky, at Texas, right? The defense was bailing them out there. It was really tough all year long against Alabama. They were down 28-0. Remember, at Ole Miss, they lost that game. You have to get off to fast starts, especially on the road, or you've got a 4-quarter game. But even at home, when you've got your home environment, you have to be ready as a player and as a unit to get those plays off that you practiced all week, that you knew you were going to start the game with. Have to find some chemistry. You've been working on it all week long. The offense as a group has to get better. Starts with the quarterback. But here's what Mike Bobo had to say. He said, quote, anytime you start a football game, you want to start fast. We always talk about starting fast at the beginning of each half and at the end of each half as well. And you go through it, and a lot of times it was execution issues. But then sometimes, to be quite frank, it was a little bit of being conservative in those situations. So he's out there saying, you know what? Maybe we need to be more aggressive. And now that they've got more weapons that they can stretch the field with, maybe that's something that we do see more from this Georgia offense, being more, just taking more chances. And there were times at the beginning of the game where they would take a shot deep, but he's coming out and saying, hey, in a lot of cases, maybe it was on me being too conservative, getting behind the chains. It only takes one bad play to end in a punt. And while sometimes they would move the football, it just couldn't get multiple first downs, get into the red area, and put points on the board. And a lot of their offense definitely came in the second half when they made adjustments. But you've got to start these games better, and that's something I expect more from the Georgia offense. But he said that's been a point of emphasis for us. There's several of them, but it starts with fast. Starting the games fast is one of the biggest emphases they're working on in fall camp. That's basically what he had to say there. And he's right, and they are going to be in situations where they have massive home games and an early start, a fast start on offense, an early touchdown on their first possession against Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss. Are you kidding me? The place is going to go bonkers. Definitely something that they could take to their advantage of. An early score can really set the tone, and that's a big reason why we didn't see a lot of blowouts last year. It was because of the slow start. You can't blow a team out if you're not scoring, and if you're not scoring in the entire first half in a lot of these situations, it doesn't matter if you're going on the road against number one Texas or a bad Kentucky team, you're going to be in a war the entire 4 quarters. And that's not something we saw a lot of from the 21, 22, and even the 23 teams. So last year's teams, they just didn't blow anyone out. And a big reason why is because they weren't scoring points in the first 2 quarters of the game, right? So have to do better there. But again, that starts with the run game. It's all connected. And he talked about that too. That's the other emphasis for the offense. Starting fast and being able to run that football. They've got a quarterback who can run the football. They've got healthy options in the backfield. No reason why. I know they're replacing some starters on the offensive line, but they're replacing them with good players. And a lot of them have plenty of experience. But here's what Mike Bobo had to say about the emphasis on the run game. He said, as far as the running game, that's a big emphasis for us. He said that's emphasis number one. But he also said starting fast was their biggest thing. It doesn't matter. They have to improve on both. They have to. There's no way the offense can take a step backwards. It's hard to take a step backwards from the starting fast standpoint because it couldn't get a whole lot worse, right? But the run game can definitely improve. He said, Coach Smart said it, and I think last time I talked to you at the Sugar Bowl, we have to be more efficient in the run game, and that does not mean numbers. We have to run the ball efficiently and find ways to be explosive in the run game, not just the pass game. What I've seen is every day it's an emphasis for us. When we come together as a unit on offense, we're talking about the run game a lot of times. I think in the run game just means more to the offensive line, but it's the tight ends, it's the running backs, the right reads, hitting the right tracks, it's receivers blocking downfield, it's the quarterbacks getting us into the right run. So he's saying there that it's still everyone's job, right? It's not just the offensive line and the running backs. It's, a guy in Gunnar Stockton who can change the play, read the defense, figure out what type of run is best. So it's up to him. He can make, the calls at the line. It is up to the offensive line to do their job, play 5 as one. That's what Michael Morris talked about, playing 5 guys moving as one, as a unit. That's when the holes start to open up. And there just wasn't a ton of holes to run through last year. Nate Frazier's longest run was 40 yards in the very first game against Clemson. And that was a great run. He almost broke it all the way. But when he took that run, I'm going to talk about Nate Frazier in a second. When he did that, it's almost like, okay, we might see one of these big runs, every so often, right? You're just waiting for that 50, 60-yard run that we saw so often from guys like DeAndre Swift, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, among others. I don't know if Nate Frazier is on the level of those guys. Maybe he is, and I think we'll see more this year. I definitely think he'll be one of the more talented, gifted running backs in the SEC, a league that does have a lot of running backs, but he does have plenty of explosiveness at 205. But again, it's reading where the blocks are too. Sometimes the running backs are going to have to help the offensive line and make something happen when there's nothing there. These guys are big, they are physical, they are built like bowling balls. There's multiple guys, 215, 220 pounds. And Roderick Robinson looks great out there. Good luck tackling that guy. That guy he's a brick. He's a truck. Whatever you want to call it. He's just 240 pounds all muscle. And Nate Frazier is physically gifted as well, but he does have more wiggle, burst, acceleration. But they were not explosive in the run game, and they have been. They weren't explosive really at all last year, especially compared to other years. But and they know it. Mike knows that the offense has to take a step forward, especially with Gunnar Stockton, a guy that he's known for a long time, the guy that he had committed at South Carolina. I mean, those two have been linked for a while. So this is year 4, Gunnar Stockton with Mike Bobo, his 3rd year calling plays now consecutively after Todd left. But yeah, that's correct. Have to get it going. He also did talk a lot about Nate Frazier, Georgia's leading returning running back. He said, I think he's growing as a complete back. I guess the next step is trying to look for the home run all the time. That's something we have to get better at with all the backs, is that we got to learn to get those dirty yards. And every play is not going to be a home run. A lot of these backs in high school, they're the best player on the field, and they can bounce anything out. And in turn, an average player is supposed to play bouncing it out, running. This league's different in working on his steps, working on his vision, and keying the right defender up front and pressing the hole and hitting it. So dude's talented, but there's still plenty that he can work on. And they're going to need him to have a big year. I think he has the potential to do that, but the offensive line has to be there. Gunner's got to give him the better reads. If he's bouncing outside, he needs those wide receivers to block. And even in the screen short passing game, they need the wide receivers to be physical outside. But Mike Bobo, Stacey Searles, they know it's an emphasis. They know they have to get better. James Coley, too. His wide receivers have to be better. I think that's probably where we'll see the biggest improvement. Last year's group was not good. The group we're hearing about right now, just Raven, Zachariah Branch, Colby Young, Noah Thomas, they're all 3 apparently incredible, right? And then you still have Dylan Bell coming in. So, I mean, we're hearing a lot about the receivers. London Humphreys is a guy everyone's still sleeping on, really talented. And the freshmen here and there, they're still coming along too. And I thought that group would be better last year. Obviously, I didn't think those guys would take a step back. And, they were kind of banged up too in a way. But this year, the expectations are very high for that group. But we talked about the tight ends a long time. It's everyone. And Mike's saying that we know we have to start fast. Sometimes I was too conservative. But yeah, they were not super efficient. They did not play clean football offensively. So the lack of all the issues, it was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of blame to point around. You can point the finger at Mike if you want. You can point it to Carson throwing the ball into double coverage, trying to be Superman. He spoke about that at SEC Media Days. He was just trying too much. And then the drop pass, there's a lot, right? And that's hopefully the last time we talk about last year's offense, because it's not fun to talk about. This is a new year, and Mike Bobo knows that his group has to get better. He knows that they have to start fast, get points on the board, especially at Tennessee, at Auburn. You have a little easier road schedule compared to last year. But I think it's equally as important to get off to fast starts on offense, get the crowd into it, especially against Texas, Ole Miss, Alabama, Georgia Tech, and Atlanta, right? Get on these teams early, start fast offensively, it makes things easier for everyone. It's not something they did basically at all last year. Something that has to improve. Mike Bobo knows it. I know it. You know it. You can read more about it over on dogpost.com. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. The season's almost here. We hope you stick around. We hope, again, to see you over on dogpost.com for the full ride of what we could see is a special season. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.